So I picked up the book about a week and a half ago, and I really devoted time to reading it.
Hmm.
I've had a lot of experiences with my ET guides, with the galactics and things of that nature. Never
Hmm.
really dove into the history much about, humanity's history, Earth's history. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, I've always felt I was different. Even as a kid, I knew I wasn't from this world. So in that sense, I knew I was from somewhere else. So all my life, I've always thought abstractly. I was always a deep thinker, and one thing led to another. One day I started meditating, and when I started meditating, I started realizing that I came here, I volunteered here for a particular reason, and that I wasn't the only one, that there was millions of others that volunteered, like yourself. And because what we are is we're actually extraterrestrials in human form. We normally are not used to the third density. We're used to the fifth density and above, for most of us. And so we're used to this other magical type of reality. So coming here in human form, being part of a third dimensional reality has been really hard. And so I started going within myself. I started researching. I started uncovering this vast data or storehouse of knowledge that included many worlds, galactic community, multiple universes, and and when I came to discover all that, I said to myself, people of this earth need to know this. People of this earth need to understand that the reason Earth has no contact or no extraterrestrial activity is because the Earth has been under a quarantine for thousands of years. It's been isolated from the rest of the galaxy. And that has a lot to do with the bad guys taking over during the times of Atlantis when they infiltrated us. But all that's being reversed now, Mark. We're entering a new age. Their time is up. And so that's what inspired me to write the book. It's just knowing that we were part of a galactic community, and that we were part of a greater family of lights that extended to the many worlds, to the different densities and dimensions, and of course other universes.
Yeah, that's just truly amazing, because with the experiences I've had, they very much are in alignment with what you're bringing forward in the book. I know I'm a multidimensional being. I've had experience and direct experiences with the Federation, Pleiadians, multiple different species. Some I can't even name. I don't know, who they are, whatever. But this is a reality that's greater than what we perceive. We've been cut off from it, in this quarantine, and living as separate, living as humans. And I'm going through the book and I'm reading this, and I'm like, very much you reference like Star Wars. And the experiences that I've had were very much like that, where there's all these different species, these bilocation experiences. I'm here, I'm there, and I'm experiencing these different beings, just very much like that. So it was very refreshing to dive into this and have some of those experiences really framed for me, here in this book. So I'm really, really grateful for that. Humanity's been on this planet a lot longer than we realize, right?
Absolutely, millions of years.
Mm-hmm.
And there is evidence now coming through the field of archaeology and anthropology, tons of artifacts and relics, um, deep ocean cities that were, sunk, that could date back to, hundreds of thousands of years. Um, so all this evidence is now coming forward. They can no longer hide the truth that we were once
Yeah.
part of advanced civilization on this planet before we, you know, de-evolved into the primitive state that we've been, well, kind
Mm-hmm.
of getting out of the primitive state, but we've been de-evolving in a sense. Even the original humans during the times of Atlantis were at a higher level of consciousness, using more genetic potential, 12 strands DNA, you know, lived for thousands and thousands of years in the same body. And ever since then, when the other guys took over, it's almost like we were essentially unplugged from using our full capacity. Little by little, our lifespans began to decrease. We went from living from thousands, well, we went from being immortal to living
Mm-hmm.
for thousands and thousands of years, to living for thousands of years, 700 years, a few hundred years, and then 100 years, and now 90. So
Yeah.
we've been in this decline for about 9,000 years, and now it's like reversing with the ascension that's about to take place. We're actually going back to the days of Atlantis. a lot of people don't understand what's going to happen after the ascension. They think it's just going to be, oh, the cabal's going to be eliminated. We're going to all be under a new financial and governmental system that's going to serve humanity. But it's going to be more than that. It's going to be the rising of Atlantis, the restoration of Lemuria, fully intact as they were before their collapse. We're going to have ET contacts. We're going to be interacting positively with members of the Federation, where even members of the Earth are going to be taken off world to go serve within the Federation. And because a lot of these regressives that sided with the Draco Empire have been eliminated. So basically, there's even within the Federation, Mark, there's been a few defectors that decided to join the dark side, and so all these positions are going to be refilled, are going to need to be filled again. And so that's why humanity is going to be very how can I say, active in that. They're going to be active in the galactic community upon the ascension. So we're not only going to have humans living here on the Earth, but we're also going to have humans that are going to be living on other planets within the Palladian system, within the Alpha Centauri system, within the Syrian system. There's over 200,000 systems that are part of the galactic community that have banded together to create this alliance, or what we call the Federation. So it's going to be interesting.
Very interesting. I've had, with what I've experienced directly, as when I communicate with my Pleiadian guide, she had indicated to me, because I would say to her, I've heard about galactic wars and things like that. And I asked her about that. And she's, I said, well, you're, 5, 6D, it's love, it's light. Where's the war happening? And she explained to me, she said, it's in the lower 4D, fourth dimension realm. Okay. Is what she had told me. And she did tell me that the war was won. Like they had been cleared out. What we're seeing here is in the third dimension, we're moving into the lower fourth dimension. We're experiencing that from this perspective. It's just the way how time works within the various dimensions. So it's playing out here as we alchemize or transmute this dense energy. We get our chakras back online, right? The upper chakras and the lower chakras, right? We integrate that. This energy moves through us, and in order for that to happen, we're clearing our fields, and the density is rising, and we're experiencing it right here on Earth. That's kind of what's happening now. It's been happening over the last X number of years, eons, really, right? But now it's accelerating, and we're kind of moving up quickly as we move into the photon belt. It's all happening at a very rapid pace. So very much, again, in the book, I'm reading this, and I'm like, wow, things that she had said to me are in this book. You're reflecting this back to me in this book. Just again, it's those things that are very validating, with the experiences. Because when you have these experiences, when I have a bilocation experience, it's a very etheric type of experience. I don't get a lot of detail with it. I'll have imagery, I'll see what's happening, but I don't get all of that intricate knowledge. And it's like your book just kind of fills in the details. It fills in those gaps. Another thing I want to bring up and get your perspective on this, because you talked in the book about Saturn. Some of the planets, there's bases throughout the solar system, right?
Right. Yes. And colonies too.
Yeah. So I had an experience where I was on this craft, and where the whole front of the craft, I guess, goes translucent, and there's Saturn. Okay. And I was with this real alien looking being, which was a guide. So that's another thing in the book. I'm like, oh, okay. So some of this stuff starts to tie together and make a lot of sense.
And there's even life in the dark matter and dark energy, which is dimensions that exist beyond what could be measurable by scientific instruments. Because they're only looking at 4% when they're piercing into the cosmos and only see galaxies. Well, all that other black stuff that they see beyond the galaxies is other universes. It's other realms that the galaxies are actually in. So the galaxies themselves exist within bigger cosmic bodies, and they're full of colonies. They're full of intelligent life.
Yeah. That was one of the first things when I awakened, when I had that experience by, out of my deck here, where I popped out of my body and this information starts rushing through. The first thing I got was there was life everywhere. There's life everywhere. It's just everywhere throughout the galaxy. We've been, like you say, quarantined off from it. in a state of amnesia, really, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Because when they disconnected 10 strands for DNA, we kind of forgot. We forgot that we were multidimensional, that we were galactic,
Mhm.
you know. And so, but all that stuff is being reversed now.
Let's talk about just want you to share a little bit about the chakras. Okay, like the lower three chakras, we've got the draconians. They come in and they're operating from the lower three, right? Essentially
Right.
male,
And
masculine
the
energy, and disconnected. As they descended, they disconnected from the higher chakras, from the feminine, spiritual chakras. It kind of moved the planet into a dark period for eons, right? Essentially cut off from the light. And what's happening now is we're getting into this situation where we're asked to reintegrate that energy, right?
Mhm. Absolutely, yeah. We're finalizing what is known as the completion of the game of polarity integration, which is the an integration of the higher chakras, the lower chakras, which is the true meaning of spiritualizing matter, or
Mm,
spirit and matter becoming one. And that's what we're actually achieving at this time, through the usage of all chakras. Because some people say, well, I really don't like the lower chakras, I like to live in the higher chakras. Well,
right.
in order to exist everywhere within the light, within the full spectrum of the light energy, you have to embody also the lower chakras, because otherwise, how else would you experience being physical? How else would you experience a plant, a mineral?
Mm,
The mineral represents the first chakra,
yeah.
the plant represents the second chakra, right? In terms of, like, the lesser kingdoms. And then the third chakra is represented by the animal kingdom, right? Those are the three lower chakras, but they
Mhm.
connect us, they root us into the earth. Without those chakras, we would all become etheric again.
Exactly. I always talk to people about that. I think when people experience the energy of the higher chakras, they kind of want to live there. It gets out, it feels real good, but it ungrounds you. And I will always tell people with coaching sessions, whatever it may be, we don't want to go etheric. We need to ground into the body. We got to anchor in the root.
Exactly.
In the root. We got to pull this energy down. We're here to bring spirit into matter, like you say. And we got to pull it down into the physical body. We got to bring our awareness, our consciousness down here, root it into the planet, root it down into chakra 10 below the feet, and really anchor that in. That's so important. It's to go down is to go up.
And that's the main message that I reveal in that book, is that we're here to integrate spirit with matter, to spiritualize matter, so that
Mhm.
heaven and earth could once become one, which is, you know the veil lifting, and the material and the spiritual become one again. Because right now
Yeah.
they've been separated. Seems like they're two different realities, but part of the experience that we're all undergoing right now is the reintegration of the higher chakras with the lower chakras, and bringing the higher levels of reality into the lower levels of reality, or rooting it. And that's the true meaning of heaven on earth. It's not like we're going anywhere. It's not like we're going to become spirit and cease to be
Right.
physical. I mean, we're going to be physical all the way to the 12th dimension. It's just that level of reality, matter is just really, really more of a fine, subtle, substance, rather. It's not like as gross or as dense as it is in these lower
Mhm.
dimensions. We're using our light body, of course. Once we hit the fifth dimension and up, it's more like crystalline based matter. Yeah.
Yeah, and really, and then there's that immediate, instantaneous effect on the thought affecting the reality, right? As we get up into those higher bandwidths of frequency. But again, yeah, it's about bringing it down here. And when we have stuck energy in the lower three chakras, the divine energy is not getting up; it's not getting past there. So that's what we do. Is I work with people to do that, to kind of free that up, and to get in there and feel it, bring consciousness to the lower three chakras. Really, then we get up into the solar plexus and connect it up with the heart, and then it goes up, and people have awakenings, right? Their DNA activates, all this information, these memories come back online. We've always had them. We've just been kind of disconnected. We've cut the wires to them. The wires have been cut, right? We're just
We are refusing those wires, pretty
yeah.
much. Those wires are tied into our dormant DNA and the other 10 strands of DNA that are inactive. They're rebundling. Right now, as I speak, they are coming online again.
It's building that circuitry, reestablishing that circuitry within the physical body and the DNA. It's just activating everything. I know a lot of people come to me and they ask me like a time frame. These events are going to happen. This is going to happen by this date or that date. There's going to be, 2030, whatever. What's your take on that?
I would say that according to my original vision, by no later than 2024. But due to the timeline wars and how they're constantly, I guess, pushing, the ascension, or they're trying to alter it,
Mhm.
uh, I would say by maybe no later than 2028. But for sure, for sure, it's going to happen like within the decade. That's all I know. Within the decade.
Yeah, see, I won't get any specific dates. My guides won't give me any dates. I think when we have expectations, it kind of it anchors in a timeline and anchors in some sort of a reality, and it makes it harder for us to kind of be present, be in the now, and be fluid with it. And it's important for people to know that we work on ourselves. When we work on ourselves, everybody's quantumly connected. We have an impact on everything, on the whole entire universe, this whole ascension process. When we work on ourselves, it's everybody's mission is to do that. Instead of so much looking, I think, externally, focus in and heal those energy blockages, get that moving, get those chakras activated and aligned, bring your DNA back online, right?
Absolutely. I think the more of us begin to do or actually finalize the inner work by really, clearing up all the emotional baggage or whatever that is holding us from fully accessing our higher self, the faster the flash will happen, because it's a two-way process. See, the sun is alive. The sun is constantly
Mm-hmm.
communicating with our cells. So unless we are ready, unless cells are clear from their density, then that's when the sun will know to, bring in the higher frequency so that the cells could take that energy, absorb it, and then transform into the next stage, human angel, physical angel,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
The power is within us. We are sovereign beings. And when we take that responsibility back, instead of looking for something to happen to us, let's take the responsibility back and let's create it for us. We're creators, we're co-creators with source. And I think as light workers, that's really our mission, is to bring that forward, to remind people of their power and who they are. That as they come back online and we work with them to do that, they have the power to change realities, to create this. It's a very fluid type of a thing, type of an experience, and we're all here to experience it differently, but yet there's a commonality among it, right? We're just going to experience it in different ways, which is so amazing. Our soul signed up for this, and whatever it is that you're gonna, however you're gonna experience this process, however I'm gonna experience that process, it's unique to us, but yet we're all going through it.
Yeah, we are, including the
You know,
species and the planets. I mean, it's
mm-hmm.
it's it's not just an event that's going to take place here on the Earth. It's actually galactic.
Right?
I've come to discover that the entire galaxy is going through changes.
Yeah. It is. I had some other experiences. Let me talk the biblical stuff. Okay, I was not a student of the Bible at all. I grew up in a Jewish family. I wasn't into that, but certain things have happened over the past few years that were very, very relevant. And you talk about it in your book. It was late 2020. It was right after the election. There was a lot of discourse in the collective, a lot of polarity, right? There still is to some extent. I'm on my couch upstairs and I'm laying down, falling asleep. I'm in that theta brainwave state. And I get this vision of 1421, 1421, these numbers, vivid as day. My eyes are closed, as just real. Open my eyes, I sit up. Next day, I'm at my office. I start researching it. I come across Exodus, book of Exodus, Moses, 1421, and the parting of the Red Sea. Okay, so I start to have these biblical things come forward. We talk about Revelation. You mention it in the book. My Pleiadian guide talks to me about Revelation, stating that we're going through Revelation right now. Okay, do you agree with that? Have you come across anything like that? We're seeing it from a higher perspective.
Well, yeah, we're in the true meaning of Apocalypse Revelation is the great revealing. It's about restoring lost information back to the earth, higher information back to the earth.
Mm-hmm.
It was never about the end of the world. It was
Yes.
about entering a new era.
And she said that, Ishmael. I mean, she says to me, she goes, look, within this process, where if we could see this from 5D, essentially atop of Mount Sinai, she goes, just sit there, hold your frequency high, and observe revelation play out. which is essentially the cleansing of the dark, the bringing forward of the light, is what she said. And I started getting into some of these biblical references as a result of that, with Moses and Exodus and the parting of the Red Sea and, running from the Egyptians. All that was just like, okay, now a lot of that's making sense. Now it's tying back to what has occurred in our history. And we're just seeing it from a higher perspective play out right now.
Yeah, all the prophecies are now being fulfilled. We are living in Revelation. And again, it's not about the end of the world. It's about the ending of an era and the beginning of a new, which has been prophesied to be a world where there is no more evil, where there is no more corruption, no more centralized governments or economies, but a spiritualized humanity where everybody finally lives in harmony with one another. And that's what we're going to be entering soon. That's the times that are ahead of us, my friend.
Yeah, and that's exactly what she had expressed to me. And it was just, it's just incredible. And again, to read it in the book, so powerful. These are the types of experiences I think that are available to everyone when they kind of take a step back and detach from what they're experiencing in reality, what they're seeing out there. There's a lot of fear going on out there and things of that nature, right? One passage in your book I earmarked here because it just hit a home run. It was on page 171 about how this is just all planned. This is all divinely planned. Even the darkness, it's divinely planned. We're here to experience the process of the descension and ascension, and it's all by divine design.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is no accidents. Everything happens for a reason, But duality, opposition, that's all temporary, because in the end, it all collapses back to the singularity, which is the oneness. It's almost like the outbreath of the one expanding gives us duality, right? Everything is fragmentalized. The reverse effect of that, everything coming back together as one, erases duality and brings it back to the state of unity. And so that's the way the cosmos is. The cosmos expands and then it contracts. And each time it expands, it contracts, but it gets bigger, it grows. And that's how eventually we, or not us, but the entire cosmos is growing and not staying stagnant, because if it wasn't for duality, it would be stagnant. It only grows when it becomes the two, so that it could have opposition. Through opposition, there's more experience,
Yeah, it's that universal breath, and as it expands, there's volume there. It creates space to actually bring more spirit into matter. So it just continues to grow. Everything really is a reflection of the breath, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So we are in the breath of the cosmos right now. We're in the out. Well, we were in the out breath. Now we're going back into the in breath. Now it's going to be a contraction.
Very cool. Have you ever come across Walter Russell?
I've heard of that name, but I've never
read any of his work.
No.
Yeah, because that very fascinating. He lived, I think it was at the turn of the century, and Nikola Tesla actually had read his work and said that he was light years ahead of his time, and talks about the stars, the sun, manifesting matter, how matter, gravity works, and all that kind of stuff. Very, very cool stuff. You mentioned implants in the book. Okay, you talk about etheric implants playing a role in keeping us offline.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what they use to disconnect us from the higher dimensions, pretty much, through the disconnection of our our 10 strands, and in turn that deactivate our pineal gland, our pituitary gland, and then 90% of our brain just became unfunctional. So we went from like these advanced supercomputers to typewriters overnight when that happened.
It dropped the veil, right? Essentially, that's what created the separateness of the veil. So again, I'm reading the book. About 4 years ago. As I was working with my guides, I was very involved. My consciousness is rising. I'm having all these amazing experiences. Around the time I had the Pleiadian experiences around my mom's death, when my mom passed, there was a craft over her house. Like 20 feet over her house, not up in the sky. I was sitting and I had a pain in the back of my neck, something like lit on fire, it felt like, in the back of my neck, and burned off. Very sharp, very acute pain. I was able to feel it. And I reached out to my guide with that. I asked him what was going on with that. And he had expressed to me that there was an implant that was burned off as a result of my frequency hitting a certain threshold. Whether you want to call it the frequency hitting the threshold or the fact that it burned off allowed me to hit the threshold, whichever way you look at it, there was just this intense focused pain back here. And I asked him what it was. He explained to me what it was. It was an etheric implant. And I believe it was put there. I don't know who put it there. If it was me, my higher self, or some other entity, everything's a reflection of the one of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with that corresponded directly with my rise in frequency. I hit a threshold and after that, I started to have a lot more of these types of experiences. That was right around the time the Galactics came forward in my Pleiadian guide.
Maybe the removal of that implant allowed you to reconnect with your star brothers.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And it just burned off. But it was, so here, it's very important, again, when we talk about what can we do, it's work on ourselves, work on raising your frequency, right? Bringing your frequency up, working through your density, working through your traumas, get your energy flowing. That will raise your frequency. And as that happens, the pineal gland reactivates and your DNA activates, and we start to perceive these realms that have always been there, just right out of reach.
Exactly. It's exciting,
Real quick, I think we should end with a real quick talk about not identifying with fear. Okay, there's a lot of fear out there. Right? What's your take on that?
Fear is a tool used by the dark side in order to keep us from reaching our highest potential or from activating. Because when people are fearless, that's when they get things done. That's when they have their inspiration. They go out and they do things and they manifest, because they're on top.
Mm-hmm.
They're fearless. Okay, when people have fear, it's impossible for them to do things. Some of them, due to the fear, they forget that they're co-creators, and so all they do is they put their thoughts in the fear. But what they're really doing is they're feeding that negativity, and it's just keeping them stuck. So, fear is a tactic used by the dark sides to keep us from achieving our spiritual awakening. So
Mm-hmm.
when we make the choice to not fear and have faith and understand that the divine plan is unfolding, despite of what the rumors are saying, food shortages, climate change, whatever, that's all part of the fear-mongering propaganda. The truth of the matter is that we don't have anything to fear. If people only understood that, there wouldn't be any anxiety or any worry or any depression. So yeah, fear is just a tactic used by the dark to keep us stuck, unevolved.
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity to take your power back. When you're experiencing these things, there's something coming up for you to experience, for you to feel, and to not attach to it. A lot of times we attach to the fear, we become the fear, we identify with it, and then it controls us.
Yeah,
when we could create some space there using various tools, like a breath work, whatever it may be, that resonates with people, they meditate when they feel fearful, create some space and realize that that's just something that is to be experienced. You're having that experience, allow it to be, feel it, and don't become it. Know it's for your own growth. And when we can do that, frequency starts to tick up and rise. So that's what I work with people on. So anyone watching this, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that catch this, definitely pick up the book. Like I said, it tied a lot of things together for me, gave me a little bit of context around the experiences I've had. I think this is really going to actually plant seeds in people and might even sprout some of those seeds regarding an awakening. I've got a link in the description to the book, so go ahead and click on that and purchase it. Awesome. So many great tools here. So many, if you're guided to this video and you're watching this video, there's a reason for it. So you definitely dive into what resonates and follow that, because that's, it's how I awakened. Started with a guided meditation to reach the Akashic records. So that'll be a conversation for another time. There's a whole thing with that too. But I appreciate it, my friend. Great talking to you. Love talking to you. And hope to do this again at some point in the future. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Mark. You have an awesome evening.
You too, my friend.